Microphones, and it's a little uncomfortable, but bring them right up there. There we go. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm here to. I don't have an opening statement either, so in the interest of time, we'll here to answer your questions, and very happy to be here for you.
Thank you. I'll now recognize myself first. I need you to summarize your findings as to what is happening and not happening with classified information. And Mr. Cullum, my understanding is a referral was given that's kicked off this whole process. Why did you make that referral? What was it that you were seeing that you think warranted an investigation?
Chairman, we were assisting, I had been asked to assist IG Linick in a review of classification issues and other issues at the State Department. He requested my office to help because of our expertise with classification matters. And during our assistance with this particular review he was doing, we reviewed 300 documents that had already been released in the FOIA process for former Secretary Clinton's emails. We saw some classified material, one classified document that had been released that wasn't properly redacted. My inspectors noticed a second document that was classified but that was properly redacted. So we knew that in this sample of 300 that had already been published that there were classified documents in this set of emails. And so also during our review, looking at essentially the internal controls of the email processing at the State Department, again, the role that we played was to look at the controls to determine whether or not the controls were sufficient to spot intelligence community equities and classified information. So we had talked to some people there, and we heard from senior management officials that they had perused the documents, and they were under the impression, one in particular, that there was a good deal of classified information in these documents yet to be processed, these 30,000 documents. They also commented to us that they didn't feel as though they had the personnel there, that there was a deficiency with the personnel in terms of having the appropriate number of people or appropriately cleared people, people with the appropriate expertise to review these documents. So I was looking at that. So we have documents that are already published, already processed through a FOIA. One was not properly redacted and it was classified. And I'm being told by the State Department information management people that they have concerns that there's a good deal of classified information in this set of documents. And on top of that, I was advised by Mr. Linick's office that this whole set of emails was present on a thumb drive in Secretary Clinton's attorney's office. And we knew nothing about the clearances for counsel or for the law firm. And I was also advised that this set of documents previously resided on a private server, which at that point in time was with a private company. So as an IG, I was facing a situation where I had classified information, it appeared to me, outside the care, custody, and control of the U.S. government. In the intelligence community, what you do when that happens is you tell the security component of the agency who owns that information. In this case, I told the agencies who owned the information. I also told the ODNI's security component, the NCSC, and I was advised to go directly to the FBI with a referral with respect to my referral to them.
So these emails, which are supposedly all of Hillary Clinton's emails, they were sitting in a secure or non-secure facility at her attorney's office.
I don't know anything about the security of the facility at the attorney's office. I think I had heard at that point in time that there was a safe there, and I think that it was represented.
But it's not cleared by the United States government.
Not to my knowledge.
Mr. Linick, what was your finding here?
Well, we were not involved in any of the classification determinations. I mean, our role in this was to look at the FOIA process we were asked jointly to look at the FOIA process, whether improvements could be made, and we made a number of recommendations to the department to make sure that classified information wasn't inadvertently released in the context of doing the review for FOIA. That was our role in this.
Hillary Clinton had this convenient email arrangement with herself. Have you ever seen anything like that? Were there people that expressed concerns about that? And what happened when these people expressed concerns?
Well, as we reported in our evaluation report, we did interview a couple of individuals who were in the Office of the Secretary, the Computer Division, SCSIRM, who said that they approached the then director of that particular office and expressed concerns both about the server and about whether or not her emails were being properly preserved under the Federal Records Act. And that individual, the director of SCSIRM, informed those individuals that it had been approved by legal and not to mention it again.
What does that mean, not mention it again? How did you read that?
You know, I can only report what the witnesses told us. We were not able to interview the individual.
Why not?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Why not? Why didn't you interview them?
Oh, well, we asked to interview him, but he declined to interview with us. So we were not able to get the benefit of his perspective on it. So I'm really unable to interpret what that means other than just present the fact.
And were you able to interview Hillary Clinton?
We were not.
Why not?
We asked to interview Secretary Clinton. We interviewed all the secretaries. We looked at 5 secretaries of state, going back to Madeleine Albright, and through counsel, she declined to meet with us.
Did she indicate a reason why she would refuse to meet with the Inspector General?
Her counsel informed our staff that that all of the information about the email was on the FAQ sheet published by her campaign.
So they directed you to the campaign?
To the FAQ sheet.
At the campaign?
On the website, yes.
The campaign website?
I'll have to check that. I'm not sure exactly what website it was.
Okay, well, it's an important point, so please check that.
Okay.
I've gone over my time. Let me recognize the gentleman from Massachusetts for 7 minutes in equal time. Mr. Lynch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The chairman asked, I'm going to follow up on that question. The chairman asked, have you ever seen anything like this before? And I think in the fullness of your response, I would say you have. As you indicated, you investigated, you reviewed the records of 5 secretaries of state. And here's part of your report. It says here that your report identified more than 90 department employees under Secretary Powell and Secretary Rice who used personal email accounts for official business. And I'll quote your report. The report says exactly this. It says, OIG reviewed the department email accounts of senior department employees who served on the immediate staffs of Secretary Powell and Secretary Rice between 2001 and 2008. Within these accounts, OIG identified more than 90 department employees who periodically used personal email accounts to conduct official business, though OIG could not quantify the frequency of this use. So I know this is sort of the second part of this hearing, but that would have been good information to have at the first one. Also, Inspector General Lennox, in May, you issued a report on the management of email records by the Secretaries of State, and your review found that Secretary Powell used a personal email account for official business. Matter of fact, in his book, he lays it out. I'm not going to repeat it again, but there's an interesting section here where, he get a little frustrated with the State Department system, and he installed a laptop computer on a private line and just started emailing folks. And again, Secretary Powell has later admitted to deleting all of his emails. So we got 55,000 emails from Hillary Clinton. How many do we get from Secretary Powell?
I'm not aware of any from Secretary Powell.
That would be 0.
I believe that's the case. Yes,
Yeah,
we did use a AOL.com account to transmit email.
Now this is the time. Now get this. So Secretary Powell is testifying before the United Nations Security Council, telling them that there are weapons of mass destruction and we need to go into Iraq. At that time, he's using a personal email system, and he has deleted everything that he had in that file, so we have nothing. And Hillary Clinton is getting investigated. You know, let me ask you, have you followed up with that and tried to get any information from Secretary Powell?
Well, we haven't. The department, though, has asked for information from Secretary Powell, and I don't believe they've received it yet, but you'll have to ask the department about that.
When did they, you have any knowledge when they asked? I think I might.
You know, I'd have to, it's in our report, the exact date. I don't have it off the top of my head.
I do. October 21st, 2015.
Perfect.
The State Department sent Secretary Powell a letter requesting that he contact his email provider, AOL, to determine whether any of his emails could still be retrieved. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And in your report, you note that as of May 2016, the Department has not received a response from Secretary Powell or his representative. Is that still correct?
To the best of my knowledge, that's correct.
Nothing there. What are we doing about that?
I mean, it's up to the department to get that information pursuant to NARA regulations. They're on the hook to recover records that are lost from the State Department, and through that letter, they're trying to fulfill that obligation.
So there's this huge gap. We got the goose egg from Condoleezza Rice, too. She gave us nothing in terms of emails. So we have 8 years of silence from the Secretaries of State.
Well, the difference with, Condoleezza Rice, we believe, wasn't using email to conduct
Her
official
staff
government
were.
business.
She got
Yes, there was staff.
staffers.
Yes.
And she served in 2001. This is not 1901. So there were emails. She acts like there was no emails in 2001. There were. We just don't have any. Not from her.
We did find that her staff.
I just think there's a double standard going on here. People talk about a double standard all day. How come these folks gave us the goose egg? We got zero. We got silence for 8 years from our Secretaries of State, and no one's going after them. They don't get subpoenaed up here. I haven't seen them at these hearings.
Will if the gentleman yield?
Gentleman yields. Yes, sure.
The Inspector General was able to interview them and talk to them, and they did look at them.
And they got nothing. They got the talk to the hand. That's what they got. They got zero.
With the gentleman, no, he said that she did not use email.
They just told, but they never subpoenaed or anything.
But if you ask
They-
Mr.
you got-
Linick what happened with her aides, I'd like him to answer that question.
So we did talk to Secretaries Rice and Powell and all the other secretaries. Secretary Rice told us that she didn't use email to
And you
conduct-
just take that at face value?
Well, we actually tested that. We looked at archives. We didn't find, I mean, we try to corroborate that. We did not find any evidence that she used
What about
email.
her immediate staff?
Well, we did conclude that her immediate staff used email to conduct official business.
Yeah.
So we did.
Okay, so, that's interesting. Do we have their emails?
I'd have to check on that. I do know that we, in the course of our work, we bumped into a number of emails that, classified emails that staff sent to personal accounts, and we did write up a memo describing that and providing that to the department and asking the department to take appropriate action to make sure any of the archives didn't have classified email in them. So we did take, same thing with Secretary Powell when we found the 2 classified emails that were sent to him.
Okay. Mr. McCullough, what do you think about this?
With regard to
The lack of response by Secretary Powell, 4 years, and then getting zero from Condoleezza Rice as well.
my office's role here was extraordinarily narrow. When we came in, IG Lennox's office was doing this review. It was limited to the past 5 secretaries. We don't have the resources, the tasking, I believe, from
We just
Congress.
spent $7 million investigating Secretary Clinton.
The
We don't have the
tasking-
resources to.
I'm talking about my office. The tasking from Congress was to determine whether classified information, one of the taskings that I believe Steve received, was to determine whether classified information had traversed non-governmental systems at the State Department. His office had scoped that down to the 5 past secretaries. When I came in, we thought it was the easiest thing, and quite frankly, we thought it would be the fastest thing to do. Since they already had 30,000 documents they were processing for a FOIA, to determine whether or not they had sufficient internal controls in place to spot, identify classified information, identify classified equities.
Can we subpoena AOL and just say, you know, this was a private account that the Secretary of State during a very important part of our country's history, and we want those emails? Go get them rather than just waiting for. And look, I have great admiration for Secretary Powell. I do, and but still, that's information, in fairness, that we should have.
I'm trying to explain that my office's role and my role in the review was narrowly tailored to determine whether or not classified information, my office doesn't have the resources to determine with the thousands of employees at the State Department who was trafficking in classified information on personal systems and who was not. He already had 30,000 documents right there that were going over that had.
You mean Secretary Clinton's documents?
That's correct. They were going through a FOIA process. So from an IG perspective, and it was more efficient for us, we thought we would look at the processes being used by the FOIA managers at the State Department, and we made recommendations to them.
Did you recommend that we go after Secretary
No, the recommendations we made were, first of all, that they asked us, can you please give us, these are the people who are actually doing the review. They felt as though they didn't have sufficient expertise there to spot intelligence equities. And so we recommended that they include intelligence people for this type of FOIA review, this particular FOIA review. We also recommended that they were doing this review on a secret level system, a CIPRNet level system. And because we had been told by some of the state officials that they thought there was a good deal of classified information in the emails, we recommended that they perform this processing on a top secret SCI level system, a JWICS level system.
But that went completely around Secretary Powell's information because he was giving us nothing. They had only Secretary Clinton's stuff, so this review of 5 Secretaries of State was heavily focused on Secretary Clinton because of the complete absence of any other information.
I would have to defer to IG Lennox with respect to any of the other secretaries in terms of the availability of emails on personal systems.
Okay. I'll yield back. I'm way over time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.